All right, well, welcome back to Medical Mondays. Let's get right to our caller. We have Carla on line 1. Hi, Carla. Thanks for calling in. What's your question?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. On the hearing aids, do you have to have a smartphone with the apps for it to work?
Okay, so the answer to question number 1 is no. Any phone that has Bluetooth capabilities, which 10-year-old flip phones are Bluetooth capable, we can do that streaming. And what the really nice thing about Bluetooth is, if you guys don't know what Bluetooth is, it just means it's a wireless connection between something and something. So in this case, it's between your phone, whether it's a smartphone or a flip phone, and the hearing aids. The real advantage to that, Carla, is it's about hearing in both ears at the same time. So people with hearing loss will struggle with the phone. If I'm going to hold it to my right ear, well, I'm going to switch it over to my left ear and let me turn it up a little bit. With this technology, the phone can be sitting right on the desk here, and I can hear that sound in stereo coming in both ears at the same time. And so, sorry, that was more than you asked, Carla, but yes, it can work with any cell phone that has Bluetooth capabilities.
Yeah, what's part 2 of your question, Carla?
The second question is, for a person that's on Medicare, can they come to your office? And what's covered? Okay,
so that's an excellent question. So Medicare does not cover anything related to hearing, and that's true, unfortunately, no matter where you go. The only thing that Medicare will cover with hearing is if it is a medical condition. So if you went to your medical doctor and you had a medical condition, Medicare will cover the diagnosis of that, but Medicare does not cover anything related to hearing aids. Now, a lot of secondaries to Medicare, supplements to Medicare will have a hearing benefit. What we do at our office is we do the first visit at no charge. And I do that because, for the very reason that she asked that question, because Medicare doesn't cover it. And so we want people to come in and be able to sit down with myself or one of my audiologists and let us understand what's going on. I look at that as a chance for you to interview me as much as it is for me to interview you to understand, okay, is this the place that's going to be able to help us? For people who do not have any insurance benefit, hearing aids, we do a trial period with hearing aids, so we let you take them and wear them for a month. There are no strings attached because the real world is really the real test. You know, it's one thing for me to sit down with a patient in my office and say, well, how does that sound? It's a completely different scenario to wear them to church, or to go to a restaurant, or to ride in the car, and I could go on and on and on with that. So we let people try them for a month. At the end of that month, if you say, yes, this is helping me and worth it, I want to proceed, we also have a payment plan for those folks that don't have insurance. Or even if you do have insurance, we have a payment plan where we can split things up over time. There's no interest. So we try to do everything we can, because I understand, and Carla, you probably understand, and other listeners, other viewers, sorry, you know, hearing aids are relatively expensive, and so it's a serious consideration going into this. That's why we want people to try them first, and that's why we offer the option of a payment plan to make it a little bit more affordable.
Great.
Hope that helps.
Any other questions for us tonight, Carla?
Yeah, I have hopefully one more.
Okay.
You said they could go to their medical doctor and it be medically necessary. What would be considered medically necessary?
So only if there's a medical condition going on. So there's lots of different types of hearing loss. What most people experience as we get older, when we've been around noise, when it runs in the family, some of the things that we've been talking about, that's called a sensory neural hearing loss. That's not really a medical, or not considered a medical problem. And so most of the time, Medicare is not going to cover a diagnosis of that. If you said, I'm having ear pain, I have an infection, I had an accident, those are what we would call medical conditions. And if your medical doctor refers you for those, then Medicare will cover the exam. They won't cover the hearing aids, even if that's the case, but they might cover the exam. Again, we do the exam at no charge, so it's really not much different than Medicare covering it. I won't get on Medicare. I'm going to stop because I was about to say something inappropriate about Medicare. So I'm sorry Medicare doesn't cover. I wish we could do better.
Topic for another night.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Carla, anything else you wanted to ask tonight?
And maybe you just don't want to say this on the air, but I guess I'm curious the range of cost for the hearing aids.
I don't mind saying that at all, Carla. So hearing aids range anywhere for a pair, most people need 2 hearing aids. Not everybody has to have 2 hearing aids, but most people, if the hearing is symmetrical, they range for a pair from about the $2,000 range for 2. Not $2,000 a piece, but $2,000 for a pair. The very most expensive hearing aids are going to be around $6,000 for a pair. All of those are helpful. So it's not like, well, the $2,000 hearing aids are bad and the $6,000 hearing aids are great. They just have different features. We're talking about smartphones. You can buy a smartphone for $200. You can buy a smartphone for $1,500. You're getting different features with that. Where most of our patients fall, and this is true across the whole hearing industry, not just in my practice, is kind of in the middle of that range. Let's say in the $4,000 range, we fit hearing aids that are completely automatic, that all you do is put them in and take them out. They're rechargeable, they're waterproof, they're Bluetooth, they're all those things that we talked about. And I realize again that that's not an inexpensive investment that we're making, but they usually last for 5 to 10 years. So I look at it, a lot of it is about how much are we helping you, how many days, over how long of a period of time. And then I think that investment makes a little bit more sense. But I go back to the trial. Anytime I have this conversation, I'm always talking to people about, you don't know what benefits you're going to see until you actually take that step and say, let me just try this and see. And most people when they do that go, oh my gosh, I should have done this 10 years ago. I was so worried. I was so worried about what it was going to look like. I was so worried about what it was going to feel like. I was so worried that things were going to be too loud. And none of that is true. They're very easy, very comfortable, and it's not loud. It's just clearer. That's the way we do it. Okay, Carla, I hope I've worn you out tonight. Thank you for those questions.
Yeah, Carla, thank you so much for calling. We really appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. All right, those are some great questions.
Yeah.
We love getting those. That's what the show's all about. So wonderful call from Carla. And let's go ahead and just kind of remind folks we have Dr. David Gnewikow joining us from Advanced Hearing Solutions here on Medical Monday. Not your first time in the studio with us tonight.
It's not.
We always enjoy having you as a guest here on News Channel 5 Plus. And of course, we're just talking about, hearing loss, hearing solutions, and, emphasis on solutions, because there are a lot of advancements now.
Right, absolutely. So people think about hearing aids, and Carla was asking some questions. There are literally thousands of hearing aids on the market. They come from all different manufacturers, and people ask me a lot of times, well, what's the best? And the answer to that is, I don't think there is a best. What makes people hear well, and this is kind of what we were getting to with the last caller, is how those hearing aids are fit and adjusted to the individual. And I could tell stories for the rest of the night about people who have come into my office and say, I bought some hearing aids from such and such, and I just never liked them. I don't think hearing aids are for me. And when we actually sit that patient down and measure how those hearing aids are fit and measure their prescription, the problem wasn't the device. It was how that device was fit and how it was adjusted for them. And so that is the key, whether you guys come see my practice, which I highly recommend, or you go somewhere else. The biggest key to success with hearing aids is having them fit and adjusted appropriately. I'll tell one. Have I got time to tell one story?
You've got all the time.
Right, I'll tell a quick story. So I had a gentleman come in my office about 3 weeks ago, and he was very sheepish. And he sat down across from me and he says, I have a confession. Well, this is going to get really juicy really quickly. He said, I bought some hearing aids from someone else. Now, he'd gotten some from me about 10 years ago. And I said, it's okay. He said, here's what happened. I came into you about a year ago, and you told me that these were kind of at their max and that you recommended some new ones. But I wanted a second opinion. I went somewhere. They talked me into it. I bought some other hearing aids. He said, I'm wearing your 10-year-old ones. I can't hear out of these brand new ones. And I said, okay. He didn't want me to help him. He's just like, just make sure the old ones are working. I'm just going to, he literally said, I'm going to use these new ones as a paperweight. He paid $6,000 for them. I'm going to use them as a paperweight. And I looked at him and I said, do you want me to fix your new ones? And he said, can you do that? And I said, yeah. And so we hooked him up, we measured. The new hearing aids that he paid $6,000 for were nowhere close to what his prescription for his hearing loss was. And in 15 minutes, I made him be able to hear with the new ones. Now, pat myself on the back. My point in telling that story is not to give myself a big pat on the back, but my point is he thought that, well, I bought bad hearing aids. That was a bad deal. Those are bad hearing aids. I'm going to use them as a paperweight. The problem is they weren't fit correctly. And so most of the complaints, not all of them, But most of the complaints that people have about hearing aids is not that they have a bad product or not that they just can't be helped. It is how those hearing aids are fit. Expertise, the #1 factor in success.
Well, I do think that, very modest of you, but I mean, your practice, you guys do emphasize, one of your slogans, I believe, is science meets compassion.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
It's not about you, it's about, seeing that patient leave and feeling like they accomplished something and have a happier
Sure.
life walking out the door.
Sure.
I mean, you guys talk too about, really it's the biggest factor is just expertise as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at it as it's my job if you come to me or you bring your dad to me, and it takes a lot for that person to walk into the office. And anybody that's watching this show, if you're watching this show, you're probably interested in learning about hearing, and you're probably thinking, I just really don't want to deal with it. I don't want to think about it. In fact, most people wait 7 years from the time I sort of self-identify, okay, yeah, I confess, I don't hear as well as I used to. 7 years before they're sitting down in my office talking to me on average. I look at it as my job is if I don't do a good job of helping that person, how much longer are they going to wait to get some help? How much more are they going to miss out on for the next 2 years or 3 years or 4 years? And so, yeah, of course that's our business, but it's also about fixing the problem and changing that person's life for why they came in.
Exactly. Well said. I think it's just important to kind of, throw in that
Yeah.
is part of what your practice,
Absolutely.
emphasizes. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick break. Keep it right here on Medical Monday. We'd love to take those calls, though. Feel free to pick up the phone and we'll get to them next. Keep it right here.